All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time this afternoon to come in and learn more about the Zero Energy Design Designation. My name is Holly Carr. I'm with U.S. Department of Energy in the Building Technologies Office. I also serve as the director of the Solar Decathlon, which is a collegiate competition here at DOE, and certainly connected to what you're going to be hearing about today. This presentation will be led by myself at the beginning, but primarily by Jamie Van Morik, who is really taking the lead on the Zero Energy Design Designation. If we can move to the next slide, please. So as many of you know, we have a goal from the Biden administration to reach net zero emissions economy-wide by 2050, and really to make that transition to a clean energy economy by 2050. And so one of the things that we would like to do in support of that goal is to recognize post-secondary institutions that are adjusting their curricula to help prepare a workforce to make that transition and to really reach net zero emissions in that time frame. And so this Zero Energy Designation that you're going to be hearing more about today really is an effort to recognize institutions that are offering building science education, offering those foundational concepts in building science, and also providing information and opportunities to design zero energy buildings and really incorporate that building science education and zero energy strategies into practical projects. So with that, if we can move to the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie, who's the real brains behind this operation. And Jamie's going to provide detail on the recognition itself, and also have some special guests, some cameo appearances from faculty who we've been working with over the past several months. I would encourage folks to go ahead and include questions in the chat. And we're happy to answer as many questions as we can get to during this session. So Jamie, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Holly, and thank you for everyone who's joining us today. And for those of you who will be listening to the recording afterward who might not have been able to join us on May 16th. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through several slides that explains this new designation that the Department of Energy is launching. I'm also going to go ahead and turn off my video so that I don't have any connection issues while I'm speaking with all of you today. But we're really excited to introduce this new Zero Energy Design Designation and to launch the first cohort opportunity. This will be an annual cycle and something that you can participate either this year or in coming years. So the Zero Energy Design Designation includes two parts. It includes a building science education curriculum and a zero energy design practicum. For the first part, the building science education curriculum, there is one of two paths for having a selected program of study meet the designation requirements. So this is a choose your own adventure in a way. Option one is for the students that are involved with your program of study, that those students will take the Solar Decathlon Building Science Education course. And this is a series of online video modules. It's around 10 hours. So you can have the students go through this building science education. They may do this as part of the Solar Decathlon, or you may have them do it as part of a course. So that would be option one. Option two is that you have created your own building science education program. And this could either be in one course or a series of courses. And with this second option, you'll need to go ahead and verify that your course or courses are meeting a series of learning objectives. And those learning objectives are detailed in the application, but we're also going to show those learning objectives in an application instructions document, which will be posted to the website. So again, this is two different options to meet this first part. The second part is now taking those concepts, those building science education concepts, and putting them into application by participating in a zero energy design practicum. So the first option is to have your students within your program of study, have your students participate in either the Solar Decathlon design or the Solar Decathlon build challenge. And this is through final submission. We're not requiring that you become a finalist team, but going through the process of participating in the Solar Decathlon will meet this first requirement. And we also need to have the selected program of study commit annually to be part of the decathlon. So that would be option 1. And all you would need to do is through the application, select yes, this program of study participates annually, and your documentation would be complete. And DOE would go ahead and have NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, who manages the Solar Decathlon, verify that you're participating. Option 2 can be met through a design practicum that the program of study offers to students. So for example, you may have a studio course where the students are participating in a zero energy building design project. You may have a capstone course. There could be an elective course. But again, the focus here is that the students are being asked to apply these building science education concepts to a project. And you'll have to go ahead and submit course documentation that will show exactly the course or courses where the students are having this application opportunity. So before we provide a few examples of how institutions are going to be meeting the designation requirements, I want to give a very big thank you to our pilot participants: Ball State University, the Catholic University of America, Illinois Institute of Technology, and the University of Cincinnati. Without these faculty members, we wouldn't be able to have the documentation process that we'll be launching late tomorrow. And so again, a very large thank you to these individuals, to the faculty members. You're about to hear from a few of them who participated in helping DOE figure out what a streamlined documentation process could look like, which is not very burdensome. So the first example, Ball State University, has 4 programs of study, and you'll see that they really range from degree programs to certificate programs. So through the pilot, they were able to document that their Bachelor of Architecture, Master of Architecture, Architecture High Performance Building Certificate, and High Performance Building Design Certificate programs of study would meet the designation requirements. And what you'll see here in the slide is, they're meeting them in different ways. So for part 1, for the Bachelor of Architecture, as an example, they're going with that option 2. They have environmental systems courses, and those environmental systems courses, it's 2 courses. They're actually going to go ahead and update those courses for the fall semester to include a zero energy practicum experience as part of that course. But they've also gone ahead and fully documented that those courses meet the learning objectives, the building science education learning objectives. And then that part 2, again, those courses will now include the zero energy design practicum. And for their Bachelors of Architecture, all their students are going through this. So it's 100% of the students. For the Masters of Architecture program, their graduate students participate annually in the Solar Decathlon. So again, they're getting that building science education. They're doing the online education, which is a requirement of the Solar Decathlon, and then they're participating in either the design challenge or the build challenge. In the third program, which is a certificate program, there's actually an option. Students can either take those environmental systems courses or they can participate in the Solar Decathlon. Again, for the building science education requirement, and then for the zero energy design practicum, they can either take a course or they can participate in the Solar Decathlon. And then in the last certificate program, the students are meeting the requirements by participating in the Solar Decathlon. So we wanted to be able to provide a low barrier to entry, meaning that you can have either a certificate program be submitted for this designation, you could have a track be submitted for the designation, or you could have a degree program submitted. So going forward, we'll provide you with 3 more examples. And again, each example is a little bit different, how the schools are going to be meeting the designation requirements. So I'd like to turn it over now to my colleague, Patricia at Catholic University, to talk a little bit about their program of study that they've submitted for the designation and how they're meeting the designation requirements. Patricia?
Thanks, Jamie. My name is Patricia Andrasik, and I'm an associate professor at the Catholic University. The way that we're approaching this program is specifically through our Master of Science in Net Zero degree, which is held in conjunction with our Master of Architecture degree, our NAB accredited degree. Just the simple fact that from 2012, there were 60 net zero ready buildings. And in 2021, there were almost 700 buildings. We, a couple of years ago, decided to change our Master of Science in Sustainable Design to Master of Science in Net Zero Design to offer our students better preparation to meet the challenges of our market. More particularly, the Master of Science Net Zero as an accessory program to our Master of Architecture course provides very, very highly tuned education, which stems from analytics, design, and evaluation, so that students aren't just informing their designs with performance metrics. They're also informing their designs and evaluating them throughout the course of their instruction. We do this through the underpinning of having a specific ethics course in their sophomore year, bringing it to the standard environmental controls classes, the first environmental controls, the second environmental controls. But then we top it off with this Master of Science in Net Zero program, where all of those things create the underpinning of the next generation of net zero study, which again includes the ADE, the analytics design, and the evaluation.
Great. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right. Now I'm going to ask my colleagues, Brent and Eduarda, to talk a little bit about what they're doing at the Illinois Institute of Technology to meet the designation requirements.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation here. I'm Brent Stevens. I'm professor and department chair in the Department of Civil, Architectural, and Environmental Engineering here at Illinois Tech in Chicago. And so we've been engaging in the solar decathlon design competition for 6 or 7 years now, back to when it was the net zero, race to zero competition. And I think, upon piloting it with a group of engineering and architecture students working together, we realized, just how much, these students really learn something. Coming from engineering, we don't have a lot of studio courses, but this kind of works as like a project-based, capstone type of course. And it's become, we essentially adopted it as a sequence of electives in our graduate program in architectural engineering for the most part. We also have a master's in energy systems engineering, which is a little broader, and some of those students will take this. And then, of course, we always have to have our architects involved too, and so some of them will take them as electives. So we actually used this as an opportunity to codify this sequence of graduate courses. Eduarda will tell you about those in just a minute. Just a little bit about her experiences, but we actually we realized that we should just be requiring this as part of our architectural engineering program. So that's the first program housed within our department that we've decided to go, with this designation on. That's our Master of Engineering and Architectural Engineering. And because we're already requiring them to essentially, the class is it's a 2-semester class, sequence built around the solar decathlon design competition. So that's check part 2. And then as part of that, we require them to take the DOE building science education. And so we just saw that, you know, it was part one is like a much simpler path forward for us to make sure that students are engaging in this really, really useful kind of culminating experience. And it's just a lot easier than documenting all the building science concepts throughout our courses and so forth. And so at the same time, we also recognize that our high performance, we have a joint master's that's half of the classes come from engineering and half of the classes come from the College of Architecture. It's kind of geared towards students who are, you know, kind of maybe an architecture background, but trying to get deeper technical knowledge, or the other way around, an engineering background trying to go into the architecture direction, or kind of a hybrid that's become more common. So we have this Master of High Performance Buildings that's joint between our two colleges. And those also require the same sequence of courses. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us to say, let's just codify that, require that. And then as someone who is accreditation task averse as I am, and as many of us probably are, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. It just looked a lot simpler. So Eduardo, do you want to spend just a minute talking about your 556 and 557 sequence of courses?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Brent, and thanks for the invitation. So as Brent mentioned, we currently offer a sequence of 2 courses, 2 net zero energy building design courses, which are designed around the SOAR Decathlon Design Challenge. We've been offering these 2 courses since 2016. And these are courses that are open to architecture and engineering students, and teams of students taking these courses participate in the SOAR Decathlon Design Challenge. We've been doing it now for many years. We've participated in several divisions. Typically, we have maybe 1 or 2 teams working together at the competition. This year, for the first time, these courses were also cross-listed with another program at IIT called IPRO. It stands for Interprofessional Projects Program. And this opens up the course even to even more disciplines at Illinois Institute of Technology. So we are quite excited about it. We think that, yes, that this experience is just very rewarding for the students and a great learning experience. And so we are truly looking forward to the coming years and continue participating in this competition. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thanks.
And I know there's another faculty member that joined us, Mohammed. If there's anything additional you wanted to share about what you all are doing at IIT, you can feel free to add a few more comments.
No, nothing from me. Eduardo and Brent, they covered very well. So we are happy to be part of this program as well.
Great, thank you all. So the last pilot participant was the University of Cincinnati, and our colleague there decided that originally he was going to try to have a certificate created, a net zero energy certificate. And the goal was to have this done for undergraduate students who are interested by the fall. But he found that for his institution, there was going to be a lot of administrative tasks and a lot of conversations. So instead, he and his, I believe it was his dean, decided that creating a track would be a lot easier for now. So they will be offering, starting in the fall, within their architectural engineering program, a net zero energy track. And as you see here, it'll be both for undergraduate and graduate students. And as part of the track, the students will participate in the solar decathlon. So they'll get that building science education, and then they'll participate in either the design or the build challenge. His hope in a few years is to actually turn this into a certificate program. But again, he knew that there were a few more steps that were going to be needed for his institution to make a certificate possible. And this was just the easiest way to start this effort. So again, for the documentation, you will go ahead, if you're interested in applying, you'll go ahead and designate a program of study. It can be a degree program, it could be a certificate program, or you could be creating a track, as you've seen in some of the examples. And you would be asked as part of the application for the selected program of study to go ahead and document for part 1, the building science education curriculum, and then part 2, the zero energy design practicum. And then as part of the documentation, we are also asking for a letter from the dean verifying both recognition elements are required of students to graduate in this designated program of study. So 100% of the students that are going through this program of study would in fact be getting this experience and the building science education content. For that second option, for both, again, part 1 and part 2, we do ask for course materials, including course syllabi, and if necessary, course schedules. You don't need to submit any other materials, just the syllabus for the courses indicated and course schedules if you think that's also needed to show when the topics are introduced. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen over to my colleague, Julia, who's going to pull up an application instructions document that is going to go live by tomorrow evening. And in addition to this document going live, we will also have the online application. The link will be on the website and it'll be ready to go live tomorrow. Hold on one second. I think I'm seeing something different than everyone else on my screen. Okay, so again, this is a new document. We'll be adding it to the webpage tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and include a link to the webpage in the chat in a minute. But this document will really serve as your roadmap for helping to pull all the necessary documentation that you're going to need for the application. The application is a Microsoft form and it has multiple pages. And when you click an option, it'll take you to the next page for that option. So it's a little bit confusing if we were to walk through it. So we wanted to provide you with this document. So again, as you'll see in the main page here, we've got the goal of this program, and then the 2 different parts. And Julia, if you could actually scroll to the next page. Okay, you'll see the designation period is for 3 years. Okay, and there's language here that if DOE does find out that for whatever reason, the program of study is no longer in compliance, the designation could be revoked. Renewing the designation is as straightforward as having an updated letter from the dean confirming that everything is remaining in place. And then we also ask for student metrics, the number of students that are graduating with the within this program of study. So in 3 years, if you earn the designation, and then in 3 years you do make changes, then you would just go through that application process again, and you would submit again, either the course syllabi for any courses that have changed, or perhaps you weren't participating in the solar decathlon and you're now participating in the solar decathlon, you could go ahead and update the application in that way. The application deadline, and this is really important to note, is going to be July 1st of this year at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So July 1st. And again, we will have the application link go live tomorrow, and we've got the page there. So all this information is going to be on the webpage for the program. And if you have any questions, you can contact us. If you are interested, but you're not quite sure if a program of study would meet the designation requirements, if you want to talk through perhaps how to create a track within a program, you can go ahead and contact us, and we're happy to get on the phone and talk things through. We're going to take July as the time that we'll be reviewing all the application materials, and then we'll be announcing in August. And then if we do have a few additional resources which you can use. Those are really to support your own curriculum development. And then Julia, if you could move to the next page. And so what we've done here is created a checklist. So as you're pulling all the information, this is everything that's being asked in the application form. So we've got basic school information, which is really important that we get all of this information. We are asking that one person submits for the program of study. So you'll have to deem one person who actually submits everything within the application portal. And that is the person, if there are any questions that the reviewer would go to as part of the application review process. So you'll need to consider who that person should be. It could be a faculty member, it could be a research assistant, it could be, maybe a student that has a work study with you. It could be somebody maybe in your front office, whomever could help you collect all this information, or you and a group of faculty to then go ahead and submit this. When the program of study achieves the designation status, the Department of Energy will like to send a letter of recognition to your institution, but we want to find out who you would like that letter of recognition to be sent to. This could be the president of the school. It could be the provost. It could be the chief academic officer. It could be your dean. Whomever you want to elevate this achievement to, that is what we're going to be asking for in the application. And then we're also going to be asking who else should be copied on this letter. The letter is going to be emailed. It'll be a formal letter, but it will be delivered via email. So we'll be able to copy as many people as you want for awareness purposes, and also to help you gain that recognition and momentum for that program. So if you're starting with a track, but you want to get to a certificate, this effort could help you to be able to do that. Then you'll go through, and just like it's laid out here, if you are going to go with option 1 for part 1, it's very straightforward. You're simply going to let us know if your students are going to complete the Solar Decathlon Building Science Education Program. If you're going to go with option 2, you'll have to go ahead and document which courses meet each of these learning objectives. So again, that's where this checklist will become really, really helpful for you, because we're going to ask for the course name, the course number in the application, and then you'll have the ability to upload the course syllabus and again, course schedule, if you think that would also be helpful for the reviewer who's going to go through the materials. So you'll do that for each of the learning objectives for option 2. And then you'll move to part 2, and you'll be asked the question again, are the students going to meet this requirement through participation in Solar Decathlon? If they are, you just simply check yes. If they're going to participate in a zero energy design practicum as part of a course that you offer, then you'll simply let us know the course name, the course number, you'll upload the syllabus, and you'll upload a course schedule if needed. And then the last element to this is a letter from the dean. So that is also something, you can type up what you need to for that particular program of study and just have your dean sign off. And that'll be part of the application. There will be a place to go ahead and upload that document. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move back to the slides. And we'll finish up here, and then we'll be opening it up for questions. Okay. Just give me one. You know what? It's going to leave it like this and make it easy. Okay. Here we go. So again, wrapping up exactly what's going to be required. My apologies. Trying to do too many things. I've got 2 screens going, which means it could be very confusing. All right. And okay, Julia, I'm blanking on how to get the display settings
Yeah.
switched again. Yeah.
That's just at the top under display settings. There's a little arrow drop down.
Why am I not seeing this? Okay. I'm sorry, folks. Let me start this over again. Give me one moment. You would think after all of this time, we have gone ahead and gotten everything. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to leave it here. It's easier that way. Okay, so.
And we have questions in both the chat and the Q&A.
Okay, great. Let me just go ahead and wrap this up and then we'll go ahead and answer the questions. So the timeline, again, we're going to open the application by close of business tomorrow, and the deadline to submit is July 1st, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to take July to conduct a review of the applications. Each application will have the opportunity to respond to questions one time. So in the application, you just want to make sure that everything is really clear and concise so that it's easy for the reviewer who's going to be walking through all the documentation and making sure that it in fact meets the designation requirements. In terms of documentation from our pilot institutions, the feedback that I received was if you went with option 1 for part 1 and part 2, it took about an hour, if not less. If you went with option 2 of both parts, it took about 3 to 4 hours just to coordinate all the documentation, depending on the number of faculty members that were involved. Ball State University had quite a few faculty members, so they had to pull materials from a few different classes to be able to submit. So one tip that I would have, again, is to, we'll require one person to submit the documentation, but the tip is to really find somebody that can help you to organize all the documentation that'll be submitted. You don't need to include any additional materials beyond the course syllabi. And again, if you think a course schedule is necessary to show when topics are introduced, go ahead and upload a course schedule. Beyond that, you don't need to submit student work or presentations. You know, again, we're really looking for the course syllabus and a schedule to show that you've met the designation requirements. So the more clear and concise the documentation, the more straightforward the review is going to be. And again, the questions will be directed to the person who's listed as the point of contact on the application. And then we went over how to renew. Again, this cycle will happen on an annual basis. So we'll go live with the application each May, and the new cohort will be announced sometime in August. So if this is something that you're interested in, but you don't think that you could meet the designation requirements submitting this summer, but you're interested in potentially next year, know that you can go ahead and let us know. You can get on the list, and we will keep you posted on when the application goes live next year. If you're interested in talking through a program of study, we're happy to get on the phone and talk through, how your program study could meet the designation requirements and what would be required. So just in summary, again, programs of study could be standalone degrees, they could be specialty tracks, they could be certificates. The program of study must include building science curriculum and a zero energy design practicum. This is a 3-year designation, which the program of study will receive, not the institution. It'll be specific to that program of study. It is renewable. We will be recognizing the first cohort sometime in August. And as mentioned, the application portal will go live by tomorrow evening, and we will also have that instructions application. And most importantly, if you have questions, please email us. And again, we're happy to respond to those questions outside of today's program. Now, if you are signed up for this webinar, you are going to be added to our distribution list to receive program updates. And you will receive an email following today's session with a link to the recording. So if there are colleagues that you believe would be interested in the designation, you can share it with them. We will be posting this recording to the website. And we will also let you know that the application link is live and ready to go. We are also, for those individuals who are just interested in getting updates about this program, you can also email us and we will go ahead and add you to the distribution list. So with that, we're going to go ahead and stop the formal presentation, and then we can answer any questions that you may have at this point in time. So Julia, do you want to go ahead and ask some of the questions that we have here?
Sure. I'm going to start with the open questions from the Q&A. So Jennifer asked, thank you for the pilot examples. For IIT, did you say that you can use the design challenge for an undergraduate senior capstone? If so, can you please speak to how you set up the course to both require participation in the competition and allow students to develop practice/portfolio in traditional architectural engineering disciplines, for example, structures or HVAC, for which the students will likely apply for jobs? This is a concern I've heard in my department. Do all students pick a discipline, but then work together towards the solar decathlon goals?
Yeah, I can jump in and respond. And so very good question. So I can help brainstorm a little bit, but I wanted to clarify that I use the word capstone, but in the sense it's sort of, my point was that it's a capstone type of experience. So we are not actually using the design challenge for our senior capstone in architectural or civil engineering. We're using it as kind of a capstone-like experience for our graduate program in Masters of Art, Engineering and Architectural Engineering. But we've also, as Eduardo noted, we've also adopted it as one of our interdisciplinary elective classes for undergraduate students. It's called an IPRO. It's an interprofessional project. That is also not a senior design capstone. We've thought a lot about how to do it, and it kind of ran into some of the same issues. There's other issues of just timing. Ours is a semester long capstone experience, which is just not enough in our experience to have a really deep engagement in the solar decathlon design challenge. But we're able to kind of build that into our master's program. And then interestingly, our students here have to take 2 of these interdisciplinary project courses. And so it fits our kind of 2 semester sequence really well. The only thing I would say about capstone is that we've actually used our projects just this semester to inform a capstone project, basically the design challenges. You could do HVAC, you could do mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you could do a lot of these things, but there's basically no structures. And that is the area that we need design emphasis in our capstone for ABET and just for who we are here. And there's basically no structures in the solar decathlon. So what we ended up doing is taking all the other components and making that a project that gets incorporated into capstone, which is then they focus on the structural design this cycle around. So hopefully that helps answer the question. The short answer is no.
Thank you. So the next question is actually from Mary. And she was wondering about how other schools handle transfer credits. So students in their graduate Masters of Architecture program often transfer their environmental systems credits from their undergrad institution. So if their school wanted to go with the option 2 for building science education coursework, which they could integrate into their environmental systems courses, then perhaps these students who have already completed similar coursework would have to do the solar decathlon building science education. Is that correct?
So maybe if Brent, if you had students that transferred into your program and they would be in that situation where they haven't done the building science education, I'm assuming they would need to.
Yeah, well, maybe this is exactly why we chose the other route. I was like, no, I'm not going to deal with all that. No way, but mostly because we had this much straighter line, that we're already emphasizing the solar decathlon is, like I said, sort of a capstone style experience for our master's degrees. And so it was just, much more straightforward. We even got into, we went through the subject by subject analysis, and yeah, it's like, this, you could either have them kind of go through the short package of videos, or we could try to pull from all these different courses and so on. And it just wasn't worth the effort, since especially we are already engaging, in this requirement. So I'm not sure that I could comment. Maybe if another school that has gone this kind of route, might have a comment.
Maybe I can add something to this. This is Eduarda. In the sequence of courses in the past, I generally had a mix of students coming from the College of Architecture and engineering students, and some of the engineering students went through or took courses such as building science, while some of the architecture students did not. But what I did was I required all students to go through the building science training, just because I thought it was very, very helpful. And for the students who already took building science, it would refresh their memories. And for the students who didn't take these courses before, it was just good for them to learn about it.
Thank you, Eduarda. Mary asked another question. If going with option 2, the project could be meeting zero energy homes, but could the more stringent option apply to non-residential programs? And this is something that was also brought up several times in the chat.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I would actually have Holly respond to that question. Holly, I know it looks like you're still on the line, because we had this conversation about the building typology and the size of the buildings. If your students were participating in the Solar Decathlon Design Challenge, there are 6 different divisions, 3 that are residential and 3 that are commercial. So they could be doing a large one. But for the Build Challenge, it is a smaller scale. It's this residential focused project. So for this one, it's a great question.
Yes, I think that either would be fine, as long as they are doing a zero energy design practicum. They are designing a building to zero energy ready home standard or more stringent. So does that answer the question for the person on?
Well, I think that the question could be, what if it's a commercial project that the students are working on? So does it?
That would be fine. But is the question like, well, what rating system do we use if it's a commercial project, because it's zero energy ready homes is our standard that we're putting in? Yeah. Connect with us offline on this for details. But my initial thought is, we're defining zero energy as a structure that produces all of the energy that it uses in a given year within the boundary of the project. And so I think if students are doing a design project, whether it's commercial or residential, that accomplishes that. On the residential side, we have the zero energy ready home standard that provides a lot more detail and requirement on that. But on the commercial side, if we're accomplishing that in the practicum, I think that would meet our requirements.
And in the instructions document, as additional resource, we do have a link to the Solar Decathlon Design Challenge document. And that could be a great resource because, again, the design challenge does have 3 commercial divisions. So you could refer to that and see what the students are using as their guidance documents. And if they're, for example, they're trying to use ASHRAE 90.1 as part of their documentation. But again, you can.
And we do have EUI requirements in there as well for those commercial buildings, which is really key because we're certainly trying to avoid having really inefficient buildings that have a ton of solar on them, right? So we want them to meet those EUI maximum numbers first and then accomplish with renewables for any of the commercial or residential building divisions.
This is a really great question, and also feedback about the types of projects would be helpful as the Department of Energy can continue to refine the designation and the requirements, and also the resources to support you with your courses. All right, why don't we go to the next question, Julia?
All right, so Imran, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, asked if we have courses that meet the designation requirement, but they are not currently required for a degree as they are electives, would we need to create a new designation and get that through our internal approval process prior to July 1st?
Right, so that's a great question. So this is where that idea of a track could be an option. So what the Department of Energy is looking for is a specific program that an institution can point to and say, in this program, students are required to take these specific classes. So anyone who goes through this program will in fact get what is required of this designation. So I just had a conversation with a colleague in Texas about this, where their mechanical engineering program has a certificate. And so what he is going to do is add a second option in that certificate program. So they have one option, and I think for their certificate, the students have to choose from a list of courses. I believe they have to choose 3 courses as part of that first option. For the second option, he's actually going to require them to participate in the solar decathlon. So they'll get the building science education and that design practicum. And then for that particular certificate, we'll be requiring a 3rd course. So that's how he figured out, okay, within the certificate, yes, DOE, there's going to be a specific option. You'll be able to find it on the website, and that's what's going to be submitted. So, it's not a designation for individual courses. It is a designation for a collection of courses that students would take. And then again, that program would meet the designation requirements. And if you have a situation and you're trying to figure out how this could work, either before July 1st or for the next cycle, please do reach out to us and we can get on a call and we can workshop it.
Excellent. Our next question, and Francis, please feel free to chime in here in case I'm misinterpreting this, but I believe she's asking about whether videos, I think the building science education videos can be split between 2 courses. And also if plans are to tweak a project in a current class to meet the needs, can it meet the needs to be considered for this year?
Yes, so the building science education modules are broken up. So you can see this as content for existing courses. If you wanted to use it in a plug and play manner, you could go through that. You could pull it into existing courses. So you may have, for example, 2 environmental design courses, but those courses don't have everything that's being asked. So you could actually pull from this building science education. It's a free online course series, and you could have the students watch the videos outside of class as part of an assignment, or you can show them within class. So you should definitely see those videos as additional content to be able to add to your courses. For the second question, absolutely. If you already have a course and the students are working on a particular project, you can go ahead and tweak that project to meet these requirements.
Gotcha. So we had some other questions, such as, can a 2-year community college program apply, or is it just open to 4-year programs?
We would love to see community colleges apply their programs of study for this designation.
And another is, can students in a class, as opposed to members of a solar decathlon team, be registered for the building science training?
The building science education, again, it's freely accessible to anybody who wants to watch it. It is hosted on YouTube. In the instructions document, there is a direct link to that. And so yes, any student can take the building science education on their own, or a faculty member could assign as part of a course.
Excellent. I think we've answered almost all of the questions. One person did mention that they might like to apply the passive house standards to an office building, for example. Would that type of standard work for this second option of the designation?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I think, oh, we have one more question. Okay, have other programs used this education for their SC.6.7 measurable outcomes of building performance for NAAB?
That's a great question. If we still have Patricia.
I'm here.
Yes. So Julia, why don't you go ahead and just repeat the question again?
Yeah, Patricia. So have other programs used this education for their SC.6.7 measurable outcomes of building performance for NAB?
We're going through our NAB accreditation right now, and I'm actually the person in charge of a lot of these, the narratives for a lot of these. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to use it. I think it's, especially with the new NAB 2020, I presume that, yeah, you're using SC 6.7 measurable outcomes of building performance. So I think that you're absolutely can use this. I think with the new NAB, however, apparently IIT would be a great school to ask. I think you guys just got accredited, congratulations. But what we're gearing towards is to show as much documentation that we're using towards benchmarking our own performance. And certainly this would be a part of that.
Great, thank you. Julia, is that the end of the questions?
That is, Nilau actually just asked if he could contact you, Patricia, offline to just touch base regarding the NAB certification.
Julia, I have a quick question for our faculty on the call, and folks might want to just type into the chat. But I'm wondering how we can be most helpful to you from now until July 31st to help you prepare your applications. Would office hours be useful? Would some other sort of interaction, like a monthly call, to help folks work with each other? Let me know in the chat. What are you thinking right now? Like, can I get this done? What would help? I see somebody says examples plus office hours. Okay. So Jamie, we may even talk to our pilot folks to see if their example paperwork might be made accessible somehow so that folks can see what the applications look like, or something like that.
Yep, we can definitely look at additional resources to help folks that are interested. And if you come up with a thought, in the middle of the night, because you're just so excited about that, you can go ahead and reach out to us via the email that's listed on the slide here. And again, with any additional questions, or if you'd like to set up a call to talk specifically about your programs of study, please do reach out to us.
And yes, I saw someone ask if you could submit something for us to look at. I think we'd be happy to take a look at that. There will be, in many cases, a feedback loop, I think, from the application. After we get the application, to hear some comments or places you might want to reconsider. And so you may just want to submit and we can provide that feedback to you. But Jamie, I don't know if you have further thoughts on how you'd like to get.
Yeah, I would actually recommend setting up a conversation. I think that's
Great.
really been helpful for the folks that I've been talking to about their programs of study. And we could review material then, or just talk about the way that you would want to apply this to a particular area within your curriculum.
Janet, we will share with you a handout. We can send a PDF document that has all the basics, which will be similar to a combination of several of the slides you've seen today, I think. And we will certainly send out a link to all the folks on this call, or all the folks registered for this call when we go live tomorrow, so you can get started right away before you go on vacation.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us today. We're thrilled to see all of the interest in the new designation. And again, thank you to my colleagues at Catholic University and Illinois Institute of Technology. And with that, we'll go ahead and close out tonight's session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jamie and Holly. Goodbye.
Thank you.